Cha 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 cha. Boogada 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 boo. All right, cue fancy intro. Bitch. And here we are. Did y'all see all those awesome editing skills? Boom. Well, it's Mitch here, your accountability buddy, and I'm here today with part 3 of the Accountability Buddy series. Again, thank you so much for joining me and being patient and bearing with me on all the cringy stuff that I'm doing in this series. Don't judge me. Alright, so in this video, we're going to be talking all about the meetings that you're going to have with your accountability partner. We're going to be talking about why it's important to show up consistently to the meetings, why it's important to track your progress and set specific deadlines for your goals, and then how to address certain obstacles and challenges together with your accountability partner. So, without further ado, let's get into it. By now, my hopes is that you already see the value in having an accountability buddy and why it's important. So, we're going to get into why you should be showing up and setting specific meeting times for your goal accountability. Why it's important to have, like, say, you meet every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and why it's important to show up for those meetings, what value you can get out of it. First off, it helps pull you back on track for all of your goals. Say you've been having a shitty week and you don't feel like you've been performing well. But when it comes time for that Wednesday and you're like, all right, I don't feel like I've done anything, I don't have anything to bring to the table, your partner might be like, yo, you've already done this, this, and that. I mean, don't be so hard on yourself. Or they can tell you, step your shit up. You promised me that you were going to show up and show up for yourself. So you better start doing that. By having your weekly meetings or bi weekly, whatever you choose to do, it keeps you in that mindset of you're chasing your goals. You're not forgetting what they are. It also helps you build that rapport with your partner. It helps you establish that sense of trust with yourself that you make the commitment to show up every single week to work on yourself. I remember when me and my accountability partner, Ashlyn, were just starting out and we would miss a meeting or miss 2 meetings. We would get so far off track from our goals that we're like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And so by having set times to meet every week, we look forward to that Saturday. We look forward to being able to shout ourselves out, recognizing the progress that we've made, or by strategizing on what we need to do, bouncing ideas off of each other. When you show up consistently to your meetings, you're training yourself, you're developing your mindset that you're important, to prioritize yourself over everything else. You start to live more intentionally. You start to enjoy all the stuff that you're doing in life because you're taking the time to recognize it. You're taking the time to prioritize yourself over everything else. Your mindset is everything, and your mindset is something that you can train up, something that you can develop. We're not always inherently born with a strong mindset. It's something that can go up and down like a roller coaster. So now that you've started showing up consistently to your meetings, you need to start setting specific goals and deadlines. Map out all of your goals. I've already mentioned SMART goals by making them specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. That's like the guidelines for making goals that you can achieve. Making it so you know what the next plan of action is to achieve your goals, but making sure that that deadline is something that you can do. It's not like, say, I'm going to make 100,000 in 20 days starting from zero. I mean, there's some people that probably can do it, but you have to make it realistic for yourself and something that you know that you can achieve while still challenging yourself. Deadlines are so specific, and I like to use my accountability meetings. Blah. I like to use those as some of my deadlines. So it's like, all right, in 3 meetings, I'm going to have this done. I'm going to have all 5 of these videos done for this series by the end of the month, May, or by our last meeting in May, I'm going to have all of these videos done. So it's a great way to set deadlines and to have your partner hold you accountable for it. Now that leads me into another skill that needs to be trained up, setting goals. It's not something that that we start out being good at. And yeah, there's some people that are already good at setting goals. But a lot of times when you sit down to set your goal, you start to think you're just like, shit, how do I set a goal? What do I need to do? What are the first steps? How do I even map it out? What do I want? And so it's something that you train up. The more that you have these meetings, the more that you sit down and you work on these, the more you know your own process. For me, I like to set a big goal and then I like to break it down. Sometimes for certain goals, I'll work my way forwards and start small, or I'll only have one step that I know that I need to accomplish. And so it starts to build on itself as you accomplish those steps. It almost lays it out for you to where you're not really having to assign yourself something, which sometimes can be hard. The next thing that you'll need to worry about when you're in your meetings and you're setting these goals, these specific goals with specific deadlines, is prioritizing. You need to be able to prioritize your goals on what comes first. So, say you have a goal of completing a coloring book, and then you also have a goal of going to the doctor to make sure that you don't get your leg amputated. Oh, that might be a bad example. I'm going to use it anyways. But you need to prioritize which one comes first. You can't just put the coloring book first when your leg needs attention. But this is also something that we train up. You learn how to prioritize, what to prioritize. Sometimes people work best with accomplishing the small things first. Some people work best with accomplishing the harder things first, and then everything just kind of rolls down from there. But you have to find out what works for you. And by sitting down in these meetings every week, you start to learn that. You start to learn more about yourself. You also start to learn more about your partner and how to best help them throughout the process. So if they start to veer off from their process and they're realizing that, hey, it's not working, you can help them and be like, yo, you're not doing what you normally need to do. You normally take it this way. So why don't you try and go with what you know best? Something cool happens when you start to set deadlines and start to prioritize what you need to do. Your brain starts to work for you. Your unconscious mind starts to find ways to make this stuff happen. It's like it thrives on structure, and giving your brain that type of structure, it's going to do well. It's going to start finding the answers for you. So you might be in the shower and you'll be like, "Oh shit, that's the color that I need for the coloring book to make it perfect." Like it'll work for you. And by creating all of these things in your mind, you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up to accomplish your goals. The next thing we're going to get into is developing a system for tracking your progress. So as you're combining all of these elements, you're checking off tasks, you're checking off your goals, and you're accomplishing all of these things. One thing that we might forget about is to recognize our progress. When we start goal chasing, we could get narrow-sighted or have that tunnel vision of, all right, what's the next one? What's the next one? And you don't stop to take the time to recognize that you've accomplished quite a bit. And so by taking the time to stop and recognize that, you're only instilling that trust within yourself of, I have accomplished a lot. I have that trust within myself to hold those promises to myself. By tracking your progress, you're also able to use this as evidence, one, to show yourself, but two, to show your partner, and to use the evidence that your partner has to help motivate you, to help keep you disciplined enough to chase your goals and to do that. You know, it's funny about motivation. It's never there when you need it most. On the good days, the motivation's there and we feel great and there's nothing that can get in our way. But the times that the motivation's not there, that's when the challenges of growth are there. That's when you really see how much you've actually grown as a person, as yourself, with that trust in yourself. And so if you take that evidence, you take all that progress that you've tracked and you look back, you look back at it, then it might help you motivate yourself a little bit more. It might help you see, okay, I am on the right track. I'm right where I need to be. I'm doing this. Like, I'm actually doing this. So now that you're doing this, now that you're actually doing this is the part that you should be enjoying. This is the part that you'll look back on and realize, like, that was the part that was, yeah, it sucked, but it was the most memorable. It was the part that I can look back on and remember the emotions, remember the feelings more, rather than the feeling of accomplishing it. That lasts a day, 2 days. Sometimes you might feel good about it for 2 weeks, but how long were you in the grind? How long were you working on yourself for? Train yourself to enjoy those moments rather than only seeking the end goal. Because if you seek the end goal, then you'll always be chasing something. But if you learn to enjoy the process, then you're always feeling good, even in those times of doubt, even in those times of shit, am I on the right path? You start to enjoy it, and you start to look for those challenges, those obstacles that get in the way. Now, since we're on the topic of challenges, let's talk about how you address challenges and obstacles with your accountability partner. How do you have those hard conversations with them and tell them you're not at your best right now? What's the fine line of telling them and just like beating them up about it while also lifting them up or motivating them to do more, to do better, that you know that they can? How do you tell them that you believe in them? Well, you just kind of have to tell them. You have to be open and honest. With that open and honesty, that sets the tone for the entire partnership of it. That tells them that, all right, they're telling me because they care, but they're also telling me because it's true. If you sugarcoat things or you always agree with them, or you're like, yeah, you know what, you do need a break, you do need this, and you just always agree, that's not being honest. That's not being the best partner that you can be to them. That's not holding them accountable. One of the best parts about having an accountability partner is that you get two brains. You get two brains to try and figure out your problems, your obstacles. You get to strategize together. You get to soundboard off of each other on how to fix your problems, or I guess it sounds bad, but like fix whatever you're encountering at that time for that goal. They might have a zoomed out perspective versus you being so zoomed into it, you might miss some of the details. You might miss a part where you're like, oh, that's right. I just need to do this. But that's one of the benefits, is that in your meetings that you're consistently showing up to, that you're being open and honest in, you're able to work out some of those knots, some of those problems. You'll learn to enjoy those meetings where you're like, I'm stuck. Because you get to have some of those aha moments. You get to have those memorable ones like, oh, that's right. Okay, I got it now. And then you leave that meeting fired up, ready to go tackle your goals. So, we've reached the end of video 3. Thank you so much again for staying here and listening to what I have to say. I appreciate each and every single one of you. This is still a goal of mine that I wanted to publish 5 of these videos, as I mentioned earlier. But I hope that you guys get some value out of this too. I hope that you can take, even if it's just one small piece, and apply it to your life. I hope that you get value out of this. Um, yeah. And comment down below if you have any suggestions, any ideas, if you just want to reach out and say hi. I mean, spread the positivity and be awesome. Stay tuned for part 4 of the Accountability Buddy series, where we go over the importance of community and who you surround yourself with and why it's important, even if it's an online community. We'll go over all of that, and you know my favorite part. Don't forget, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time that I post new content. Thank you so much.